if I told you the Dark Ages weren't as dark as you think? That what you learned in school might only be half the truth? Hang tight, because we're diving into a time shrouded in mystery, chaos, and surprising progress. A time that shaped the world as we know it, the Dark Ages. Just saying it brings to mind images of crumbling castles, plague-ridden streets, and a world plunged into ignorance. But what really happened during this 500-year period? Was it truly an era of darkness, or have we misunderstood history? In this video, we'll unravel the myths, explore the hidden advancements, and uncover the truth about the Dark Ages. By the end, you might see this era in a whole new light. For centuries, the term Dark Ages has been synonymous with decline. Picture this: a world where once thriving Roman cities are reduced to ruins and knowledge that once illuminated civilizations is seemingly lost. But is that really the whole story? Or is this a misconception rooted in modern biases? After the fall of the Roman Empire, Europe seemed to spiral into chaos. No central authority, constant invasions, and a population struggling to survive. But was it really all doom and gloom? Historians today argue that calling this period dark oversimplifies a complex and fascinating time. Here's the challenge: how do we separate the myths from the reality? What drove this era, and what did it leave behind for future generations? Let's start at the beginning. When the Western Roman Empire fell in 476 AD, Europe lost its backbone. Roads deteriorated, trade routes collapsed, and cities emptied. Barbarian invasions from the Goths, Vandals, and Huns swept across the continent, destabilizing what remained of Roman governance. These invasions didn't just disrupt cities, but also uprooted local economies and fragmented societal structures. Towns that once thrived under Roman infrastructure became isolated, leading to a breakdown in trade and communication. Governance shifted from centralized systems to localized, often militarized rule, fundamentally altering how people lived and interacted with authority. But here's what most people don't realize: the Roman Empire didn't vanish overnight. The Eastern Roman Empire, or Byzantine Empire, thrived for another 1,000 years. Constantinople became a hub of trade, culture, and political power, influencing both Europe and Asia. In Western Europe, Roman tradition survived through the Catholic Church, which became the stabilizing force in an otherwise fractured society. Latin continued to be the language of scholarship, and Roman law influenced emerging kingdoms. As the old order crumbled, new powers emerged. The Franks, led by figures like Clovis and later Charlemagne, established what we now know as France. Charlemagne's reign marked a renaissance of learning and culture. One striking example of this was the establishment of the palace school at Aachen, where scholars from across Europe gathered to study and teach. This effort preserved ancient texts, promoted literacy, and laid the foundation for educational systems that endured for centuries. He established schools, reformed governance, and worked to unify much of Western Europe under his rule. Charlemagne's efforts to revive education led to the Carolingian Renaissance, where scholars copied and preserved classical texts. This period was crucial in ensuring the survival of knowledge that would later fuel the Renaissance. Meanwhile, the Islamic Golden Age flourished in the Middle East, with scholars translating Greek and Roman works into Arabic, making them accessible to future generations. Advances in medicine, mathematics, and astronomy during this time influenced European scholars centuries later. Let's talk about the common people. Yes, life was hard, and feudalism often trapped peasants in poverty. But there were also communities working together, advances in farming technology like the heavy plow and three-field system, and a sense of resilience that kept society moving forward. Farming innovations increased food production, leading to population growth. Villages developed into small towns, and markets became central to economic life. People began to specialize in trades, laying the groundwork for a more complex economy. Art and music didn't disappear either. The illuminated manuscripts, created by monks, are some of the most beautiful works of art from this period. These manuscripts, often adorned with gold and vibrant colors, were not only religious texts, but also reflections of the era's artistic skill. One of the biggest myths about the Dark Ages is that scientific progress came to a halt. That's not true. The idea of a flat Earth wasn't widely believed during this time. It's a modern misconception. Medieval scholars studied astronomy, medicine, and mathematics. For example, medieval universities, established in places like Bologna and Paris, became centers of learning. Scholars like Thomas Aquinas and Roger Bacon pushed the boundaries of philosophy and science. Inventions, such as the mechanical clock, and improvements in shipbuilding during this period laid the foundation for future exploration and innovation. Religion dominated every aspect of life, but it wasn't all blind faith and suppression. The Church was responsible for founding the first universities and preserving classical knowledge. Monasteries became repositories of ancient manuscripts, ensuring their survival through turbulent times. While some ideas were censored, others thrived under religious institutions. Gothic cathedrals, built during the later part of this era, stand as a testament to the ingenuity and ambition of medieval society. These architectural marvels required advanced knowledge of engineering and design. Of course, no discussion of this period would be complete without mentioning the Black Death. In the mid-13th century, the plague wiped out nearly a third of Europe's population. It was a tragedy of unimaginable scale, but even this dark moment had unexpected consequences. With fewer people, labor became more valuable, which led to the decline of feudalism and a shift towards a more modern economy. The scarcity of workers also spurred innovation, as people sought ways to increase productivity with fewer hands. For instance, the development of labor-saving devices, such as the water wheel and windmill, transformed agriculture and milling. These technologies not only increased efficiency, but also laid the groundwork for future industrial advancements. So, were the Dark Ages really dark? The truth lies somewhere in the middle. It was an era of immense hardship, but also one of adaptation and survival. Out of this period came the foundations for the Renaissance and the modern world. The resilience and ingenuity of people during this time paved the way for unprecedented progress in the centuries that followed. The Dark Ages weren't as dark as you've been led to believe. Yes, it was a time of struggle and change, but it was also a time of resilience and quiet progress. It reminds us that even in the most challenging eras, humanity finds ways to adapt, innovate, and move forward. Want to uncover more hidden truths about history? Hit subscribe and join our journey.